Hello YouTube, Doofus here. This is a grocery bag holder. I saw a really cool build on Facebook where somebody took one of these from IKEA and made it into a bunker. So I promptly went and found a much cheaper one, I think, on Amazon. I got two of these huge things for like 12 bucks. So they only have one end cap, but they're far too long. So I'm going to cut this one in half. I'm going to build an aircraft hangar with a back in this one, and I'm going to build an open-ended hangar with the other one. So let's get started. First thing I got to do is open it out flat, and I already started this because I forgot I was supposed to be filming it. So I basically drew a line more or less down the middle, because more or less is my measuring. And I'm going to take a wired Dremel this time because the wireless one kept cutting out, and I'm going to cut this in half. Pretty much just, you know, turn on the Dremel, follow the line. However, as that's going to be ungodly noisy, I'm going to do that and then I will start the video again. Okay, so here it is cut in half. I didn't do a super precise job. I know you're shocked. I cleaned up most of the edges a bit. Not perfectly because they're getting covered up anyway. So now I can fold it up. It's got these tabs that go into a slot on the base to give you the arch. And then this one, because it has the back piece, will actually lock and make a nice strong structure. So I'm going to have to fabricate some kind of edging for the front, and I'm going to cover up on the outside these patterns to make it look like a solid structure. For that, I'm going to use my old friend corrugated paper, if I can pick some up here without losing everything that's on top of it. Wow, I really planned this well. I'm going to use some corrugated paper, and I'm not sure how much it's going to need. Oh, that works pretty good. It looks like one sheet won't quite cover it, but that'll give me some overlap in the middle, and then I can build the support structure for the end. Now, I have noticed, because this is a big hole here, I have to actually kind of let it rise naturally. So, yeah, I can't put it on that way, but I can actually have it. I might cut it in half and build it up like that, like one half on each side and then a half over the top. So this top part doesn't want to have a curve, obviously, because it's a gap. So I'm going to have to be careful retaining the shape there. And then once I've got that on, I'm going to figure out a way to dress the front up. Alright, I'm going to cut up the pieces and get started on that. Okay, so I've cut out 3 identical half sheets, well, almost identical half sheets of the corrugated paper, and I'm going to attach one to each side and then have them fold over, and then once I've got those on, I'm going to put another piece on the top to overlap the paper, because it will be easier to stick the bottoms paper to paper, and that will allow me to fake a little curve here. It is a little uneven, but $6 for a hanger frame this size, including shipping, I'm willing to put up with that. It's a little crooked at the front here, but, you know, it's me. We all expected that. So, first things first, I'm going to glue, on my test fit, sorry, the paper, and see where the glue's got to go to. I'm actually going to mark it just to make it easier on myself. I've got my handy dandy marker here. And this front part is probably going to end up being chipboard. So I'm literally going to put glue over this whole support structure here. Let me get another glue stick out now, so I'm not hunting in the middle of the application. Alright, so first step one, put hot glue over everything. And make sure to get a good bead in the gap there. And I want some on every one of these stanchions, I guess you'd call them, to make sure that the paper doesn't come off and bulge. I was right about that glue stick. It doesn't matter if the top isn't quite as well fixed as the bottom, because it'll be tied in when I put another piece over the top. So then I'm going to take my paper, one edge, both the side of the short edges are the factory straight edges, so that should be easy. And I'm just going to, a little far out there, there we go. And I'm just going to roll that a little, make sure it's all tightened up. The trick with this stuff is to push it on without crumpling the corrugate. Luckily, this area is where the overlap's going to be, so it doesn't matter too much. Let's see, that gives us a nice sheet metal siding and a sort of grid pattern inside that should be a bit more interesting than just a folded sheet of chipboard. Alright, we're going to do the same again on this side. So, one edge where I cut is obviously going to be the edge I want on the top to be hidden under this. One of them will be visible, so I just picked the one I messed up the least. Alright, let's run another bunch of beads on this side. And any dangly glue inside will be fine, because I can melt it off and clean up the whole inside when I'm done. Probably not going to put too much detail on the actual terrain piece. Detail will be stuff that I've 3D printed or built separately and staged inside it. The nice thing is this could be an aircraft hangar or a Quonset hut, depending on what kind of cap we put on the front. I'm probably going to make a door for this one. The other one I'm actually probably just going to have open at both ends. So again, we take the card, stick it where we want it, make sure it's properly seated, and then just roll it up. So you see it's already starting to look like something, except where I've got trash stuck to it. I had a piece of sticky tape on the bottom to attach it to the wall for your kitchen. I just melted that off with my trusty blowtorch. You see that melted right off. It's a little sticky on the bottom, but I'm probably going to sheet base this and build a little ramp or something. So you can see, and missed a bit up here. That's the love of hot glue. You can just burn yourself with it. So now, oh, this side's a little loose too. When you're hot gluing a surface this large, it's hard to make sure every part is in contact. You could use like a spray contact adhesive. I don't have any of that, and I personally hate the smell of it, so I don't use it very much. I'm going to trim this a little, just straighten it up a touch. That's better. Alright, so I'm going to see where the margin's going to be, so I know how much hot glue to put on it. I guess I really only need to mark on one side. Let's see. Yeah, that's pretty even. It is going to gape a bit at the front, but I'm hoping I'll be able to hide that with a frame. Alright, so I'm actually going to put the hot glue on the piece I'm going to apply this time, because it'll be a lot easier. And I'm going through some hot glue on this. Alright, let's get that on there before it starts to cool down. Oh, glued it to some super glue, ironically enough. Okay, find a place to put my fingers where I'm not going to melt. Put that on there, line it up, and down we go. And all the dings and damage are absolutely fine. These type of structures tend to get beat up in small ways. I really want to bend this up to meet the corrugate, but I don't think that's going to work, so I'm going to bring the corrugate now to meet it. It's not quite a true dome, but again, it's been 200 years. Oops, and I got the hot glue in the wrong spot. There we go, got that seam down a bit better this time. And as you remember from the last video, this stuff is pretty flammable. So I'm trying to be a little more careful with strings so I don't end up burning the whole project to the ground like the last one. I mean, it didn't burn to the ground, but as you can see, that's already starting to look a lot like some kind of hangar building. We may cut a doorway in the back here, or at least fake one up with some chipboard. I may put some kind of beams or something on this end, but for now, I'm going to let that set up while I start cutting some other pieces. Okay, for the next part, we're going to cover up, or try to cover up, this unsightly edge from the outside. So to do that, I cut two, I actually measured these. Two big pieces are going to go over the outside, and two skinny pieces, they're going to go on the inside for the outside ones to kind of glue to. It's going to be kind of hard to make them conform to this curve here, so we may have to do some extra on top of that. To get them to curve like this, I've got a curved edge table. I just pinned it between me and the table and pulled it through to make a bend. If you've got like a sheet bender or something, you can use that. So, first thing we're going to do is attach the little skinny strips to the underside. Sorry, against the actual frame. I'm going to use a lot of hot glue for this, partly because it just came gushing out, and partly because I'd really like these to stay in place. I realize I'm actually going to have, ooh, that's hot. I'm going to have some pieces left over, so I think once I've got this attached, I'm going to Dremel the front. Now, I've tried to follow the radius of this curve here. Once I've got everything on, oh, I didn't realize how much glue I'd put in the center there. I might have to cover that up with some light fixtures or something. I'm probably going to Dremel these down to make the curve a little cleaner. And I'm going to cut this in the middle here. When we're done putting this piece on, we're going to put some little pieces on the end here to sort of anchor it a bit better. Alright, let's go again with this side. Not quite as much hot glue this time. Get on there. Yeah, see, I think I should have used this piece on the other side and the other piece on this side. Oh well. Okay, and cut that there. See, I've tried to follow that curve. Well, we're probably going to put a whole piece on the inside here to mask some of this. But as you can see, that will give us somewhere to stick the other piece on. I'm actually going to bust out the Dremel now. So I apologize in advance for the noise. We're going to use the battery Dremel for this because it's not quite so aggressive and it's much quieter. I'm just going to use a standard sanding wheel. So I got to swap the chucks between. I only have one adjustable drill chuck for 2 Dremels. I really need to get another one. They're not expensive. Best tool the Dremel ever made because you don't have to mess around with those little keys anymore. So now I'm going to go around and I'm just going to clean up these overhangs a bit. You know, as much material as actually here, I think I'm going to use the cutting wheel and just try and be like fancy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the cutting wheel and I'm just going to trim touching the cardboard. I've noticed that chipboard is actually surprisingly resistant to abrasives, so it shouldn't work out too bad. See, it will cut out if you over torque it. Alright, well that bottom, is hot. Needs to be straightened up a bit. But we'll do that when we come to the actual front piece, which might hide a lot of sins. So I've noticed this part is a little proud still. So I'm actually going to add another strip over there from my offcuts to kind of bring it into line a little better. So I'm going to put the glue on the strip because obviously that tells me exactly how long the strip needs to be. Oh, that one's really hot. See, that brings the cap. Oh, I've got glue everywhere on this side. There we go. See, that brings this crown a little closer to this, so that when I put this over the top, it'll actually meet a little better. So I'm going to put these from the bottom up, and then I'm just going to cut them in the middle, which I think I'm going to pre-mark because this will be fiddly as hell to cut once it's on. Try and find which is the straightest of the two edges. So, pen. Okay, that's one. And we're going to apply this one, so when I cut the other one, it's already measured against the one it's got to join to. I need another glue stick, because apparently I'm going through them like crazy today. So I'm going to glue this, and then apply it to here. going to be a lot of glue because this is kind of tying this whole front piece together. And I want it to just stay down and not come off. And kind of give the front a frame. More glue. Alright. Let's put it back on the table for straightness. Line it up at the front. There we go. And just, ooh, it's hot. Ooh, that's very hot. So as you can see, oh, it's coming off there already. As you can see, it really needs clamping or something, but I don't have. Actually, I do have some clamps somewhere. There's one. So we're actually going to clamp that there. Thought I had more. Oh, there's another one. I'm going to clamp this up here. And I'm going to give that a few seconds to set. And then I'm going to put the other one on and come back to you. Okay, so as you can see, I got the front frame in. It actually looks pretty good on the outside. I just noticed that's a little crooked, but it'll have to do. Got this nice sturdy band. It's actually made it a bit less flexible and sort of conform the shape. I managed to get this one a bit tighter than this side, but I will be putting a front piece. Oh, I also cleaned up that edge a little bit just to make it easier to put the front on. We're going to be making a front piece to go across the front here, and I'm going to cut the hangar door in that. And I may build a little track or something, or I may just have the doors off and to be laying next to it. So, the front piece will obviously help cover up this and these frames and stuff, and also give it a bit more structure. Bent chipboard is actually quite rough to hot glue. It was fighting me the whole time, but it's down there now. So, before I do that, shake all the lumps out of it, I want to cover up this floor. Now, as you can see, there's kind of a raised area with a floor, so I'm going to use that as like a concrete edge. And I cut this piece of chipboard that will just slide right in there and get glued down. And that will be a nice, smooth concrete pan floor. So, but I'm going to glue that in now before I put the front on, because it might not be possible depending on how I do the front. So, again, lashings of delicious hot glue, because you can't burn yourself without all the hot glue. Oh, man, I'm going to have to go buy a pack of glue sticks. I keep building like this. Almost out. And a little bit for that front. And flip it upside down without putting my hands in the warm glue. This is going to be tricky. Luckily I can actually see what I'm doing. Okay, that's all the way to the back. And smooth down. It's not bad, only one spill, and it fits perfectly, almost. So now you can see there's actually a floor in here, and it's really starting to look like a building. I may end up just peeling this glue off of this top section, or I may stick a piece of card in there. I need to kind of decide that before I put the front on, I guess. So let's see how this looks. So I could cut a piece like this, and actually that would be a perfect fit. It would kind of undome the ceiling a bit, but that would give me a great place to stick 3D printed light fixtures and stuff. Yeah, let's do that. So I'm actually just going to shove the glue gun down inside and run a bead along the, actually, this is going to fit. This is the problem with the glue gun. Sometimes it just doesn't want to go in the project. There we go. It's just going to be mostly glued in the front and the middle, because I can't get the glue gun all the way in the back, and I don't want to have to dig out the small glue gun and heat it up. Pro tip when you're doing this and you go to put the glue on the opposite side, don't put your hand in a puddle of glue that you just laid. So I'm going to take this piece, see if I can get some glue on the back of it, just so when it gets there it'll not just be loose. There we go. Using glue as gap filler, another hobby of mine. Lay that down in the back there and run it up the front. Kind of line it up in the middle. Pick up the extra glue with my cooked fingers. There we go. More glue in the front. I'm actually going to use the clamps again, just to mush this together a bit. It kind of puts a bend in it, but it's not that big a deal. So as you can see, that's going to give us a sort of ceiling bar. But one covers up that huge gap in the top where I got glue over everything, thinking it was going to stick there because I'm an idiot. And two, it just kind of structures out the building a little more. There we go. Nice thing about hot glue is it takes no time to cool. So, that's actually getting quite rigid now. Which is good because I didn't even think to glue the end cap or the side pieces on. I'm probably actually going to sit this on a piece of chipboard at the end, just to give it a bit of a surround. I think I've got enough left. Starting to run out of chipboard. You guys are making me go through them. Wow, I'm down to 3 sheets. Guess I've got to get on eBay later or Amazon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of chipboard like this, take the corners off, just to give it a base so you can't see all the gubbins underneath, although it doesn't really need it. But that will give me an opportunity to mitigate this jump here. I'm probably going to make some ramp. I may make it out of compound or just popsicle sticks and then put some chipboard over it. I haven't figured it out yet. But while that's setting up a little more and the floor's in there nice and tight, I'm going to cut the front piece out to glue on it. Okay, so I cut out this front piece, which is basically going to sit right there and get hot glued on. In order to make it a little sturdier, I'm going to do some popsicle sticks, the fat ones, craft sticks, whatever you call them. I'm going to cut them and make a frame around the front. And then I'm going to do a door. There's a couple of different ways I could do this, but I'm going to basically do exactly what I did in my factory build, which you haven't seen because I did it before I started to do a YouTube channel, but I'm going to actually do a video showing off the builds I've already done. I'm going to use styrene angle iron, and I'm going to cut pieces of that to go on here on top of the planks, and then I'm going to turn it into U-channel, or maybe glue it to the edge. I haven't decided yet. Probably U-channel because I know that works. And then that will give me the off-cut door piece, and that will be able to slide in from the top, especially after I put some corrugate over it to make it look like a roll-up door. Actually, maybe I'll slide it in from the bottom because it's unlikely to need to come out during play. It's either going to be open or closed. I haven't decided yet. But I will make what looks like a roll-up door. Let me show you the one I already did so you can see what I'm talking about. Oh man, too much terrain over here. I'll also be doing a build with this, which is my slave cage from my Raider game. So, this is my foam core factory building. The roof's a little bent. I can't get it to lay flat. It's got some air conditioners printed out on top. But it's a ruined factory. It's got a wrecked office, a way up to the roof hatch on the roof tile there. It's removable so you can play inside. It's got some greeblies, but it also has what looks like a roll-up door, except you can reach in and slide it up. And with a little careful positioning, You can have it in a number of different positions. You can wedge a little piece of plastic in there or something, or you can take it out entirely. So I'm going to be doing a similar sort of thing with the hanger, so that we can have different scenarios. It may just be a taking up space terrain piece, or it may be, you know, get into the hangar and steal the radiation powered truck. So what I'm going to do first is cut up some of these and make a frame to reinforce this. So I'll put a straight edge on one. There we go. Not that straight. So need to figure out how high. Actually, I need straight edge on two of them. How high I need to cut this. Oh my God, I cannot cut even remotely straight today. Which, you know, is every day, but whatever. Okay, so that one, where'd my marker go? And cut it there. So that'll give me, one, it'll stiffen this piece of cardstock. I may put some of these on the back side too when I glue it on. I haven't decided yet. So first thing we can do is put the uprights on, or this upright, and then one of the cross beams on. And then we'll use that to cut the other one to size. Because if I, glue's going everywhere. Because we all know if I pre-measure and cut before I apply, it'll be wrong. Because that's how I roll. And also this is nice because the edges of the chipboard can get a little fuzzy when you cut it. And that disguises that quite nicely. Overspill from the glue. What was that? I don't know what that was. Alright, and see that one still fits. So, oops, knock it flying. Mark where I'm going to cut it. It's actually a little high. Yeah, too late, it's set. So if you do cut this stuff a little high, you can score it and kind of pop it off. Just be careful not to cut through the chipboard underneath. Let's see, now that's actually, yeah, that's actually on track. I should be saving those end pieces and using them as tombstones. Just thought of that. Alright, I'm going to put this one on. Yep. Okay, there we go. That's across the doorway there. Boom. And then just one more and we'll have a nice solid frame. Obviously when you paint it, you probably don't want to paint it as a wood frame. I don't think there's probably that many wood frame aircraft hangars left after the end of the world. But, you know, you can paint it however you want. You could do the entire building out of popsicle sticks. I have actually seen, I mean, look at that. That's a tombstone right there. I need to dig around the table and pick them all up. But I have seen wooden aircraft hangars. It was from the 30s, I think. And they look very cool, but that's a lot of planking to glue on for me. Too much planking to glue on for me. Okay, there we go. As soon as that sets up, it's now a lot more rigid. Should survive a little more gaming. So, now I've got to figure out how I want to put the door on. So this stuff is great, but it only has a 90 degree. They do make a U-channel, but I can never find it in stock anywhere. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do is, oh, and it's quite expensive too. It is certainly not cheap. I always try and start with a clean cut, because for the guys I bought it from, they cut it all off of a long stick, and they were clearly in a hurry. So I give myself a nice clean cut, and then I'm going to want this to go all the way to the top. So up here. There we go. I got it marked. Problem I have with this stuff is it's white. I can't bloody see it. Okay, so we have that piece, and then I cut another piece the exact same length. And you know, by exact same length, I mean close enough for government work. And then you can take those two and stick them together and make a nice, sturdy, and very stiff piece of U-channel. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to put the inside edge on first, because that's just how I do it. You do have to be careful with the hot glue gun. If you dwell on the styrene too long in one spot, it can melt and burn and discolor. Ow. And you can also glue it to your hand like that. I don't recommend gluing it to your hand. It is contraindicated. See, and that will give us... And I've gone and put that on the wrong way around. Because if I do it that way around, both the open ends will be facing outwards, which is about as much use as tits on a ball for this. So let me rub the glue off. Yeah, it's not coming off. Still a little warm. That's another thing I love about hot glue. If you're using a smooth object, you can often just rub your mistakes away. Alright, let's try again. So, just melt the few bits that are still on there. Okay, put it the right way around this time so it will actually function. There's me knocking the glue gun over again. Doesn't matter if it's a little kinked. Hell, I've worked in places where these rolling door tracks. Okay, so as you can see, I've got the door track on there. And I cut the door to size so it will slip right in there and sit on the ground, and you can just lift it out. You can make the door track a little taller than the door to make it easier to pull out. I like to use a tab of some kind, preferably like clear plastic, which I have around here somewhere. But at the same time, I also cut out a piece of corrugate paper to make the door look like a corrugated door. Now the problem is, as you can see with the door in the track, it fills it up pretty completely. So I'm going to have to applique that over the top, and those lines that are showing me where to stick it so it won't interfere with the track. It is a little more obviously stuck on with the gaps down the front, but I've done it where you've had a layer of chipboard and a layer of the corrugate, and it's just a pain in the neck getting the door open and closed, and you tend to rip the track off the building. So I got to glue these together first, which again is going to mean lashings of hot glue. Although this isn't really structural, so I probably could use less. But hell, I gotta go buy more anyway. So line those up. Put your hand in a puddle of hot glue. There we go. I'm just gonna roll over at the top a little bit. There we go. Hold that in place for a second. Kind of gives it that roll top door vibe, and you see that looks, obviously it would be better if I had deeper track And I could actually have the segments going all the way across. But that looks pretty much like a roll door, and you can lift it up. With a lot of these, if you want them to stay in place, you just kind of tuck something a little thicker behind it. I've had pretty good luck by taking a piece of chipboard, folding it into a wedge, and then you put the door where you want it, and you tuck the chipboard wedge behind it, and it naturally wants to open out, and it'll hold it up. You can do 2 wedges, or you can put it in a more central location than I did, and I think that'll give you a more, there you go, see, the door holds up independently of the thing. Alright, so we got our door, we got our door track. I'm probably going to print some greeblies. I'm going to put a control box for the door here, maybe some lights over the top. Maybe attempt a straight edge along the top. Nah, why bother? So I've got to attach this to the front of the building. This is going to be kind of a tricky glue, because obviously there's a limited amount of contact, but I think there's enough to hold it, especially as I'm probably going to end up basing this on a sheet of chipboard. So first step first, lash glue everywhere. This is one I'd rather clean up overspill than not have enough and have the front come flying off. Especially as it's kind of uneven back here due to my iffy construction. Alright. So I made the door as wide as the floor. Line that up on the bottom. Yeah, see, it's kind of lacking in adhesive over here, so I'd really like the feet to sit solid. That's set. I wish I had something heavy to put on top of it, but that looks like it's setting pretty good. Give it a second. I was thinking about the chipboard, the ramp. I'm probably going to take a piece of chipboard and cut it to width. And then basically make a strip like this. So that will fit a little too wide there. Still too wide. Remember, when you're trimming stuff down by eye, it's always better to cut it longer than shorter. And I'm going to put a little bend in it and glue that on, and that should give us sort of contact with the ground, like so. I mean, obviously there'll be a little bit of a lip in the floor, and if it really bugged you, you could do another layer of floor, but I've seen construction like this where it's just, you know, there's a damn step, get over it. Okay, so I'm going to glue that in there now while I think about it. Okay, nice and easy. Make sure it's kind of straight. And you see, it doesn't really show up too bad that there's a step in there. Of course, before I glued the front of, I probably should have primed the inside of this thing, but oh well. You see, that's pretty much complete at this point. Everything else is just dress up. And to give you an idea of the scale of this thing cut in half, here's a 40K Land Raider, Rhino, whatever it's called. And you can park, I got a couple of these. You can almost park 2 of those in there. So, you know, small aircraft, spaceships, tanks, like one large tank. Here's a, Taurus, And that also fits in there pretty well. And obviously you could build a heck of a base inside there for fallout. Alright, so put the door on just so you can see what that looks like. And that is the basics of the build done. I was going to put a tab on this, but I might not really need to. And I got to prime it first anyway, because it's actually got enough of a lip because of the extra height of the floor. But as you can see, that is a solid looking aircraft hangar that doesn't look covered in dog hair. It doesn't look too much like it's supposed to hold grocery bags in your closet. So I'm going to prime it and maybe dress it up a little, and that'll be, I'll show you when I'm done. So here you can see it, I've got it kind of perched up on the table. It looks pretty huge from the outside. There's a rhino in the back with some working on the engine for it. There's my man Bob hanging out in the doorway guarding it. There's some tools and stuff. And of course, when Bob sees trouble coming, can hit the button and drop the door. So that's my build for the day. Thanks for watching.